Thanks all for joining us and for joining Nathan, Graham Wright and myself on what is an important and somewhat sad day for us. As many of you know, at the start of the season we were clear around the discussions with Nathan and in relation to our senior coach. We would have as an open, honest and transparent conversation throughout the season and reach a decision at the back end of the year. Those conversations that we've had across the three of us have been very much open and honest, and that's a credit to all of the individuals involved at every stage. We met regularly and at times we were focusing on the here and now, but most importantly we were focused on 2022, 2023 and beyond, and looking at the next 3 to 5 years. And as those conversations unfolded, and particularly over the last couple of weeks and last few days with Graham and Nathan, it became clear that Nathan's time as coach would finish this year and that we wouldn't be going on into 2022. We talked about the future and what our list looked like, what our program looked like, and certainly with Righty and Bucks at the forefront of that and having those direct conversations, it became clear and apparent of the decision that the club made, but also in reaching that decision with Nathan's decision as well, and obviously Bucks will talk to himself about that process. Nathan has said right throughout this process that he would do the right thing by the club. That is not a cliche. In every discussion, every action, every intent that Bucks has had right throughout these discussions, he has at the forefront and very genuinely and authentically had the club and its best interest at heart. And we've appreciated that and respected that. Importantly and reciprocated is Nathan is a huge figure in the history and currently at the Collingwood Football Club. There's not many like him across our long and storied history. And we similarly have shown that respect and that honesty and authenticness back to Nathan in those conversations. Nathan, as a leader and as importantly and more importantly as a person, has huge respect throughout our football club and across the whole Collingwood community and AFL community. We respect him enormously, and so it is with great sadness that whilst it's the right decision for the club and for Nathan, it does come with a heavy heart and great sadness for us all. Bucks is a celebrated, admired and loved figure that's been with us for around 30 years, having coached us over the last 10 years for 217 matches and played for us 260 times. As I said, he's a legend of our club and we've shown him the due respect that he's deserved and earned and warranted. We've had many discussions about the right timing, having made the decision as a club and with Bucks that the right timing was now. We extended that to when is the right time to finish up, and what's been clear in those discussions are very much led from what's best for the football program, and Bucks having a key voice into that. We've decided that this Monday will be the last time that Nathan will coach the team, and that we'll go up to Sydney and play the Queen's Birthday match up in Sydney as the last time that Nathan will coach Collingwood and the group. In true Bucks style, Bucks has endorsed that and embraced that and didn't want any extended and long farewells. We will find the right time to honour and respect his amazing legacy to the club. He's a towering figure of the club, a legend of the club, and we will respect that and provide our members and fans that opportunity of respecting that as well. We know all of our people, and particularly our players, will be doing the very best for Bucks and our club on Monday, but it will be the last time that Bucks will be leading our players and our club on Monday afternoon. And with that, I'll hand across to the most important person in this at the moment, is Nathan, to say a few words, and then Graham and myself will answer questions and look at the pathway forward, and we're certainly open to all questions that we receive from all journalists. Thanks, Bucks.
Thanks, Mark. Yeah, I'll make a brief statement, and then, as Mark said, happy to take any questions. When I spoke to the program about an hour ago, the overwhelming message that I had was one of gratitude. I feel like I've been blessed to be a part of this football club over a large period of time. I walked into it as a 21-year-old in November 1993 down at Vic Park. I said to the guys this morning that Tony Shaw took me under his wing and taught me how to go about making the most of my opportunities as a footballer. But in the journey that I've shared with Collingwood since, it's been the lessons have been far more deep and broad than just being a good footballer. I really have a great passion for this place, the people within it, and the people that we represent. And I've always felt that I've given my all to the multiple roles that I've played at the club over the last sort of 28 years. And it is a bit sad to understand that that'll be coming to an end on Monday. I'm looking forward to the week's preparation. I'm looking forward to seeing what we can do against a side that's playing some pretty good footy. I'll have my head down and want to give our people, our players, and our staff and our members the best chance of feeling that success in the short term. So I'll go back to that pretty much straight away. But as the guys have said, and as we will detail for you, the discussions have been open. They've been, really focused on what's best for the club now and going forward. We haven't performed the way we would have liked to at the early stage of this season, and I've had 9.5 years at the helm after 2 years as an assistant coach in 2010 and 11. So I've had a fair crack at it. And everyone has its time, every relationship, every person has their time, and mine has come, and I'm really content with the decision that's been reached, and I'm pretty confident that the club will be in really good shape going forward. The fundamentals are pretty sound. But I'd like to thank everyone that's assisted me and helped me along the way. I've got so much gratitude for the people that I've met along the journey, for the way that they have supported me, and I really do feel like I've got the better end of the bargain. I'm so grateful for the role that the club has played in my life and all the people within it. It's definitely shaped the person I am, and now I'll go into the blue skies of whatever the rest of my life looks like, and I've got 2 young men in Jed and Ace to put all of my focus into, and be the best dad I can, and then get on with living the best life I can beyond that. But it will always be with as a Collingwood supporter, and looking from outside in, and wishing that the club does its best and is prospering at any opportunity. So that's where I'll sit beyond Monday. Thank you.
Nathan, was there a reason or a time and a moment where you realised it was the right time, or have you been feeling it for a while?
Roddy and I have been sort of talking openly for probably the last couple of months, and we detailed it publicly. We understand that the members deserve to have some insight into where the club is and where it's going. And what I will say is that Roddy's only been at the club for 4 months, but we've got a beauty here, someone who is a really good operator and very honest, very open. And I've really enjoyed that time that I've had here with Roddy. The conversations were largely around what's best for the footy club. And we're trying to remove the external noise and conversation, and work out fundamentally what the program needs and how we're going to get the best out of the people that we have at our disposal. So I think in the end, the last couple of weeks, in conversations with Graham, it was clear that there was an appetite for change in the program, and I could sense that as well. And I think my messages, my manner, the way that I lead is is established, and we had a general sense that it was time for something different. There was time for something new and something fresh, and I think this is the right time for the football club. Then the decision was made about whether to coach the year out, and I would have been happy to coach the year out if that's what the club needed and wanted, and we felt that was the best. But ultimately, coaching this weekend and then stepping out is once again another opportunity for new growth, for new energies and new voices, and that's the opportunity that should happen as soon as that decision is made. So it's been really transparent. As I said, I'm really content with the way that the process that has taken place and how it's occurred, and very, very confident in the people that are leading the place and the decisions that are being made that the club will head in the right direction.
This is, I guess, one of the few opportunities you get to write the headline, and if, as you said, you've been very transparent. So what is the headline, just to clarify? Is it Nathan Buckley stepped aside, or Nathan Buckley was tapped?
I wouldn't presume to do your job for you, TJ, so you can write it however you wish, mate. And one thing I have noticed, that even if I speak from the heart and actually tell you what I think and feel, the headline very rarely is connected to what I say. So just go for it, mate.
Okay. Would you be disappointed though if it was Nathan Buckley was tapped?
Was tapped. I actually don't even know what that means, mate. But
On the shoulder.
Go for it. No, that's. I've had a part in this. I'm not being smart about this, mate, but I have had a part in the conversations. Nothing lasts forever. I was going to be tapped at some stage, but there's no doubt that this is the best thing for the football club, and I've always believed that that's what should happen. And the guys either side of me, the guys that are in the boardroom, the players, all want to see the right thing happen for the club, and I believe this is the best move for the club as well, and I look forward to seeing where it goes from here.
But what you guys have to was an appetite for change that you could sense that? Did you sense that from the group, as in the players themselves, or was it from Graham or Mark, or a combination of all?
No, I think in the end, Sam, I think there's. I was talking about like long-standing coaches. There's probably periods where they have to go through, whether it's a 6-month period or an 18-month period, where there's a downturn in performance, or there might be a turnover in players or in staff, and ultimately I think that we are in a period of regeneration as a football club. The list turnover has begun, and I think that we can refresh really quickly. I think that the playing list can be competitive. I think we're competitive now. I think it can win quite quickly. I think the expectations externally are always a little bit lofty when it comes to Collingwood, but I think that change and regeneration is in the midst of happening. So the question was whether I was up for it, and whether the club viewed me as a longer term person to do it for the next 3 to 5. I can't categorically say that I want to be here for the next 5 years, for instance. And I think that the candidate that the club end up looking for, I think, should be someone who has that fresh eyes, fresh ideas, a new person within the group to help it pop again. And to help it regenerate, and potentially when you've been in the seat for 10 years, the mandate or the capacity to do that isn't as great. So I think it's the right decision, and I think that there's enough of that feeling internally for that to be warranted.
Up until what point did you want to coach on and beyond this season? When did that change for you recently?
Yeah, no, I've been open with that. I mean, I'm a competitor, Tom. I don't mind getting in a dogfight, and if someone tells me something can't happen, I work pretty hard to prove you wrong. So at any stage, I was up for doing whatever the club were asked of me in any role that I've played. So I reckon if Wrighty said to me, no, we need you to stay on, I reckon I would have found a way. But that's not the path that we've gone down, and it's not what's required right now. So I think in my own mind, Tom, I still believe in my capacity to be a really good leader and to be a very good senior coach. But I just, as I said, I just think the time has come. It makes sense right now. This place is full of great people, both in the playing group and in the staff. I'm really confident that it's going to go really well, and I believe that that's exactly what will take place.
What's
How
next?
difficult was it to address the players this morning, Nathan, and what was the message to them?
Yeah, well, the main message was, as I said to you at the beginning, I'm just grateful to have been able to be a part of this football club for so long. I had Ash Johnson, sitting, 5 metres in front of me, and and Aidan Begg, they've been in the place literally for 5 minutes. And then I had guys that Mick Degina, who's been at the football club since I arrived, back in the early '90s. So we're an eclectic group of people that are thrown together. That's what happens when you're part of a community, and we look out for one another so much, and we have this shared passion and commitment to an end, and that is to be as good as we possibly can be. We're part of something bigger than ourselves, so to walk away from that is difficult. That's what I'm going to miss the most, is walking in to the doors and sharing the journey with great people. And I do believe in the last 3 or 4 or 5 years that this group has really grown. It's really learned how to come together as a unit, regardless of what the result is on the field. We're a really tight group. The energy in here was awesome this morning, and has been, contrary to opinion, in the last sort of 4 to 6 weeks. We've felt really good as a group and been energised to do what we need to do. It's not just on one person, it's on the collective across the group, and I'm really, really confident that they can continue to that. So I spoke about that and thanked them largely for their support, for their efforts, and wish them all the best in their journeys, and I've been rapt to be a part of it.
Nathan, what's next for you?
It's been a pretty brutal time, right from the trade period, Eddie's departure, then the boardroom stuff, and how is all that sort of, has it worn you down at all, dealing with all of those things?
Those things are in the short term, Rob, and there's no doubt that they do have an impact. I think when you love a place and you're invested in it, when it's not, when one, it can do better as an organisation, or two, the opinion of it is not positive, that can weigh you down. The third thing that happens is that there's just total a misreading of the situation, or agendas that are being run that aren't accurate. That's probably the thing that can disappoint you. But it's just in the short term, it's not any different for me than my whole career at Collingwood. There is high expectations that comes with being a Collingwood person, and a leader at Collingwood is probably one of the more scrutinised positions in footy. And I've accepted that, and I've understood it. I suppose I'm not worn down by it at all. I think you have to regenerate. You have to stay passionate to be able to do your job. And I think I'm human. That ebbs and flows at different times. But invariably I can bounce back pretty quick. But as you just detailed, there's been a lot of change at the football club. Eddie moving on is a massive change. Wrighty's a new football manager in the football program. We've changed out the list manager and have a different structure in our list management recruiting. And now the senior coach changes. So there has been an enormous amount of change in this football club in the last 6 months. with the backdrop of a really difficult environment that we're all going through in COVID. So the last 18 months has been as bizarre as you would ever wish to see or be a part of, and there is a little bit of trauma that comes with that, but nothing that's not capable of being overcome.
Nathan, what's next for you, and do you have future aspirations to keep coaching?
What's next for me is to spend, be 100% available for my boys, and then sit in the space for a period of time and choose the direction of my life. I don't believe that you really think about that day, the day that you're not going to be doing it anymore. I think I've always been someone that's been so invested in the moment, and I think my preparation for my future is the way that I've gone about it, the way I've carried myself. So I believe, I'm just so thankful for the support that I've got, for the love that I've received over the time, and in particular in the last couple of hours, to be honest. But yeah, it's blue sky for me. I really don't know what I will do, professionally or personally, but I've got no doubt that that I'll find something that I'm equally as passionate about going forward. Robbo.
Sorry, cut you off. Congratulations, Bucks, on a terrific contribution to the footy club. We wrote last year, would you be unfulfilled as a coach, and you spoke about your life, but can we just separate that a little bit from your personal life and footy? Do you feel fulfilled as a coach?
Good question. I sat in a similar position at the end of 2007, sort of thinking that I was going to leave the football club as a player, and I'd had a full career, and I was asked the same question. To be able to come back into the fold as a coach in 2010 and be an assistant coach in a premiership year, and then go into a grand final in 11, to take the reins as a senior coach and go into a prelim, then regenerate and then come back around and go close in 18, another prelim in 19. It's a career. My coaching career has mirrored my playing career pretty closely, if I'm talking about it from my perspective, and ultimately to not have been a part of a premiership. If I reflect back to what I would have thought 20 years ago, I think I would have been absolutely gutted and shattered by it. I'm disappointed. I'm definitely not unfulfilled, because the journey itself has been tremendously fulfilling. And I bar a kick here or there, mate, I wouldn't change much. So yes. It is a good question, and it's one that I'll probably spend some time reflecting on, as we all do, about what we put all our time and energy into in our lives' passions, but of which football has been one of mine, but and the club itself. But I sit here tremendously content with the work that I've done, the people that I've met, what we've been able to achieve, and the way that I've gone about it, probably more so.
Graham, I was just wondering if I could ask you a question in this. You've obviously come into the club quite recently as a career lists manager, previously at the Hawks. You would have seen the state that the list was in, and then the decision that the club had to make. Is it possible that, you talked about hangover on radio last week in the list management sense, is it possible that the mistakes of the past with list management has affected Nathan's tenure, in that it could have gone for longer had there been more prudent decisions made previously?
That's a good question as well. I think overall some of the decisions that were made at the end of last year were needed. I mean, as you've alluded to, for cap reasons. So you lose a couple of good players from that perspective, but the decisions were made around a transition for the club, really. And we started that last year with 8 new players coming in the in the draft period, and then 2 just recently, so 10 in the last 8 months. The club is in that transitional phase of regeneration, as Bucks alluded to earlier. So from that perspective, when we projected forward, we looked at the next 3 to 5 years and what's that going to look like for us. So I'm not quite sure if that answers your question, but certainly losing a couple of players can affect results. But in the end, it was a phase that the club had to go through.
Do you think, Nathan, it put pressure on you or change the way you coach more suddenly than it perhaps otherwise could have?
If you take it in a short enough timeline, say, we got flogged by Geelong last year in the last game. We had to drop a few players and Geelong bring in Smith, Higgins and Cameron. There's a fair contrast in those two list changes that to argue differently would be folly. So there are different ebbs and flows that occur throughout, even within seasons, let alone sort of between seasons. So there's no doubt that has an impact in the short term. But the club, as I said, I believe we're in pretty good shape, and the environment in the place is solid. The connection between players and staff is really strong. The understanding of what I suppose of making the right decisions at the right time is really clear, and this is simply one of those. And I believe in the direction that the club is taking. I believe in the leadership of the place, and I've been a part of it for a long time. And now that I'll be stepping out, I believe this is the right decision for the football club as well. I think it is time to regenerate, and a new energies and new voices are required. So, regardless of what's happened in the past, I think it's the right decision for now.
So Graham, what happens now in terms of the start of the search for the replacement?
Yeah, that obviously begins straight away, but this decision was pivotal to what we do going forward, and obviously the respect we have for Nathan and the integrity that he holds and we hold him here at Collingwood was really important that we make the decision around Nathan first. Now that's done, I mean, we'll formulate a group that will come together to search for the next coach, and this club has only had 2 coaches in its last 21 years. So from that perspective, it's a really important decision, and we'll move on to that once we obviously get through the next week or so.
Nathan, did the board with Mark Corder and Paul Curia, namely, did they have anything to do with this decision, or was it purely Graham and Mark in conversations with them?
I'll pick up the answer to that one. So, as we said, and as I mentioned earlier, it had been the 3 of us that had been discussing the process, and Righty and Bucks of the last couple of weeks. As we're also open about, Paul Curia as our footy director had a key voice in that, and Peter Murphy as our director as well. So it was a group of 5 of us that were closely involved on behalf of the board. And a really important part of the discussions and the process and the decision was that this was very much a decision about the senior coach and was not impacted in any way by any other factor or noise or activity that was occurring outside of this decision. So we were really clear and tight and strong on that this was a really important decision for the club that needed to be free from any other noise. It was a decision about the senior coach, and it was an important decision about Bucks, who we respect enormously, and so there was no other factor that's come into the decision.
Bucks, you're a kick off a flag or so. What's your overriding feeling of why we've reached this point, prelim final, semi-final, to get to this point where we are now? What do you see as the biggest change?
The cycle of life, Michael, and the ebbs and flows. I mean, this is the way the game goes. You're in contention, and then you regenerate, and then you come back into contention again. Very few flat line at the top or flat line at the bottom. Yeah, and it is a product of many things. I think you make your own luck, and you've got to make good decisions consistently enough. And there's been some decisions that we could have made better in the past. But I think the next best decision to make is to own those, to acknowledge them, and then to make the right decision for now. And there's been some hard decisions that the club have made in the last 9 months to try and reset and be able to pull that pain forward, and then to be able to clean the slate and go again. So I think you never truly clean the slate when you've got so many people, so much expectation and so much going on. I think that's difficult, but I think the slate's as clean as it could possibly be now. A new president, a new football manager, soon to be. You'll have an interim coach, and you'll have a new senior coach at the beginning of 2022. And I just think that there's a lot of the fundamentals of the club that are in good shape, and right now it's just an opportunity for change, an opportunity for something fresh and new, and hopefully continuing the momentum of the connection and belief of a playing group that really enjoy being around each other's space and want to play for each other. So that's the challenge.
Righty, mindful of the playing group, respectful of Bucks. When Bucks mentioned an appetite for change, was there any feedback from the playing group that had impact on this decision?
No, not really. I mean, we certainly talked to our players, but I think as you would have seen over the weekend, the group is connected from that perspective, and they've been, they've had their own voice around supporting Nathan. So from that perspective, no.
Nathan, it was late April that you said in a press conference, and I know that your own comments in the media sometimes take press conferences out of context, but you did say that you wanted to coach beyond 2021. I know circumstances has changed, but have you ever seen yourself with another club?
Sam, I will say that comment was as much to get you blokes off my back as anything else. And if I'm going to leave my options open, I think that's probably a wise decision for anyone out there. I don't know. When Righty and I consolidated this decision on Monday, so far as when I would stop coaching this year. And when was the right time to remove myself and begin that regeneration and the fresh start that will become apparent. So it's still really raw. My overwhelming emotions is as I said, one of gratitude. I'm really thankful to the football club for the support that I've received, for the people that I've shared this journey with. I am quite content that the decision is the right one, and it's not just the right one for the football club, it's the right one for me in this present moment. And I look forward to whatever the rest of my life has to bring, to be honest, in a professional and a personal sense. And I know whatever I do in the future, it'll be with 100% commitment and everything that I've got. So if coaching is on the radar, I still haven't consolidated that thought now.
What do you think Monday's going to be like, Nathan?
Sorry, mate?
What do you think Monday's going to be like?
It'll be a bloody tough game. They're playing some good footy. I'm really looking forward to the week. I mean, I've known, like, there's always a bit of carry on with a bloke like me and a club like us, and in a situation like this. But I'm really just looking forward to. We've already started sort of looking at Melbourne. They're playing some great footy. We fly up to Sydney. We get the opportunity to play on a different ground. Footy's footy, and you can make it. You can make it something else if you like, but fundamentally, we'll select our team. we'll go up with our crew, and we'll try and get a win. And I'm looking forward to going through that cycle. And to know that it's the last time I do it here is gives me pause for thought, and it'll bring up different emotions, I'm sure. But I'm just excited now to have a real crack at this week and to see how we'll go on Monday. And I'm not expecting that the players are going to find another 5%. I'm certainly hoping that they gave everything that they had last week and the week before. And I'm not a big one for milestones, so. But I'm sure it'll definitely be a game that'll stand out to me, and one that I reflect on. So if we can find the 4 points, then it'll be even better to reflect on.
Was it a shame, Bucks, that Collingwood fans mostly won't be able to be there?
Sorry,
I'll answer the one about a shame with the fans. Yes, it is for me. But there's a whole lot of realities in this circumstance that we're all in. The community is in, that we would prefer to change. So we can spend all our time wishing those away, or we could just accept them for what they are. I know that whether there'll be Collingwood people that will have the opportunity to be up there, but if you've recently moved from Melbourne to Sydney as a Collingwood person, please get along and give us all the support you can. But the reality is that I don't think the fans or the Collingwood people have ever missed an opportunity to show their gratitude to me, and I've felt that throughout my time here in many different roles. As I said, it's on the flip side. I'm the one that feels like that I've got the long end of the stick in this relationship, and I'm very grateful for it. So, at some stage, there'll be an opportunity to thank the fans, and this is it, I suppose, in this forum as we speak. But I hope that I've been able to do that with my actions along the way also.
And I'll just add to Bucks's comments and mentioned up front, but very much a key part of our discussions and decision around very much respect our members and fans, and wanting to provide an appropriate farewell for Bucks. And as I said, the footy program importantly was first and foremost, and I'm sure our members and fans would absolutely endorse that. And so that's why Monday was the reason for the decision and the timing, but we will absolutely find a time to pay respect and acknowledge Buck's amazing contribution to the club down the track with our members and fans.
Mark, in respect to the senior coach search.
So we had a question about the senior coach, so we'll go back to that one.
We look to speak to experienced candidates, and does that include current AFL coaches? We look to speak to the current AFL coaches in that search.
Yeah, today's very much about obviously announcing Nathan's finishing up, so it is about that today. But as Righty said, we will have a process in place shortly, which will include the panel and how we'll conduct the process, and we'll be talking to a whole range of people, and certainly this is a really important role. It's an important time, and we need to make the right decision, and we'll do that. And so we'll consider all options.
Hey, Bucks, can I say thank you?
You try to.
Can I just ask one last question? Probably.
Jay, you're up, Jay.
Bucks, thanks for always selling. It has been tricky over the past 10 years, and you have absolutely always treated us with dignity and respect, and always fronted up and answered the sometimes very difficult questions, mate. So that times can be in the midst of the challenges at all. On a personal note, mate, I think we all feel in the football media that you've always given us the time of day, etc. So over the past decade, mate, we thank you for that sincerely.
Cheers, mate.
Despite the headlines at times. So can I ask you, what do you think you'll miss? So after Monday, it gets to Tuesday, the following weekend, will you be glued to the next Collingwood game? Will you be texting everyone, or you'd be wanting to shut off from it. How do you think you're going to feel watching a Collingwood game?
Well, I'll give you an insight, Jay. So I retired from playing at the end of 2007, and about 8 weeks later, I knew that the first day of pre-season had started for the 2008 year, and I knew the boys would be running a 2K. So I actually got in my car and started driving to the club so I could watch the 2K. I got about 3/4 of the way there before I turned back and went home and thought, just, have a look at yourself, mate. So there's a little bit of habit in what we do, and like, football's been a massive part of my life. Collingwood has been a massive part of my life. I mean, more than half of my time on this earth has been spent, in and around buildings at Victoria Park or here at the Holden Centre, and with people that are trying to represent the place as best they can. So I will have a strong passion for this place until the day I'm no longer on this earth. And I don't know exactly how that's going to represent itself physically, Jay, but if I can get to games, I think I will get there. I know what Mark just said about a send-off. I'm really happy to go under the radar for as long as I possibly can. I don't mind the public existence at times. I'm happy to represent on behalf of the footy club, but I don't enjoy being papped, and I'm pretty happy just to go under the radar for a bit.
I'm apprehensive.
I'm not real good at this Zoom.
It's not coming through clearly, that one.
Internet's really struggling.
There we go, Sam, you're good.
Mark Robinson,
Sam, you're clear.
back like that. Anyway, Mark, can you hear me? Bad weather up here, I'm not getting a connection. Can you hear me back?
Yes, you're coming in loud and clear, Robbo.
No.
Sam, what do you got for us?
Roddy, apologies if you answered this at the start. I'm wondering whether Rob Harvey will be interim for the rest of the season. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, he will. Rob will be.
Can you mute him?
Rob will be the caretaker for the remainder of the year.
Can you mute him?
So we made that decision yesterday in consultation with him. So he'll take over from next Tuesday, and then we'll sort out what happens with our assistants underneath him from that perspective.
Graham, I know this sort of question always comes around interim coaches, and are they sort of doing a job interview for the main job? But I guess it's a little bit different with Rob, given that he has applied before to be a senior coach at other clubs. So by virtue of that, I can only assume that he has that passion. So does that change the situation? And Nathan, having worked for him for the time that you have, do you believe that he has what it takes to be a senior coach?
I suppose from my perspective, if I haven't spoken to Rob about this at all, but if he wants to apply for the job, absolutely. But at this stage, we've talked about being the caretaker from next Tuesday and helping us through the back half of the year, and we'll have some goals that we want to achieve out of that, and we'll sit down and work through those over the next week or so. We've got the bye next week, so it's the delineation between Bucks' last game and our next game is clear, so we'll have a little bit of time to talk about it. Talk about whether you think.
Yeah, no, personally, I mean, I've worked with Rob for since 2012, and I just can't speak highly enough of his credentials as a bloke and as a coach. It's probably an example of the perception externally, or the way that people are perceived. I mean, I don't think he's really viewed in the right light as in terms of his coaching capacity. It's elite. He's a very good coach, very good strategically, and builds enormously strong relationships across the width and breadth of the football program. He's the perfect bloke to step up, and will I don't believe that the club will miss a beat with him stepping into the role, and he has the capacity to pull a program together. In the short and medium terms, and as I said, the club will go through its process. But I think he's going to do great things in the second half of the year, and we won't miss a beat.
Thanks all. Appreciate you joining us.